Hey there, it's me, Crystal. So I'm not going to explain why I have so many books. It is what it is. So I'm just going to jump right into it. So I have a total of 96 books if I counted right, and I'm going to try to haul them all in this video. So what I'm going to do is I have 7 different categories, and so I'm going to put timestamps for the different categories in the description bar in case you want to skip around. And per usual, I'm going to start with the ebooks. And so the first 2 ebooks I picked up were on sale for 99 cents. And the first one was the Wicked collection by Gregory Maguire. If you don't know what Wicked is about, it's like an origin story for the Wicked Witch of the West from the Wizard of Oz. And we also get some information about the Wicked Witch of the East and also the Wicked Witch of the North. And so I tried to read Wicked. It was like over 10 years ago, and the talking animals were just like really creeping me out. And so I quit reading because I was scared. And so I kept the book because I was like, one day when I'm a little older, maybe I can handle this talking goat, Dr. Dillamon, and I can try to read the book again, but obviously I'm going to have to start over. So when I saw that I could get all the books in the Wicked saga for $1, I was like, hey, this will be an easy way to reread book 1 or to start rereading book 1. And then if I want to read the rest of the books in the series or whatever in this world, then I can. And it was just $1. So the next ebook I picked up is What If Fairy Tales by Charlie Wood. And I don't know anything about this author, but Amazon recommended this to me. And we all know I love fairy tales over here, and I love dark fairy tales. So this sounds like it's a collection of 4 dark fairy tale novellas. So I thought I'd give it a try. And then the next 2 ebooks I picked up were both Amazon Prime first reads. So this is when Amazon will give you a choice of 2 out of 5 ebooks. So you get the ebook for free and you get it early. And so I think both of these books come out sometime in July. And the first one is Song of the Forever Rains by E.J. Mello. And I'm currently reading this book now since I finished the other 2 ebooks that were on my TBR this month early. And I think this is an adult fantasy romance, and it's about these 3 sisters, and they're all gifted. They all have some kind of musical gift. I think the first one is gifted with instruments, the middle one is gifted with dance, and the youngest one, who's our point of view character, well, one of our point of view characters, is gifted with song. And I'm only about 50 pages into it, so I'm far enough into it that I'm interested in continuing reading, but not so far into it that I really know what's going on. And then the other Prime First Reads book that I picked up was from the Suspense category, and that was Choose Me. And that is by Tess Garrison and Gary Braver. And I don't remember what this book was about at all, but it sounded interesting, so I picked it up. So the next category I'm going to do are picture books, and then I have like this collector's edition up here. So first picture book is The Bench, and this is by Meghan Markle, also known as the Duchess of Sussex. And I think this is a picture book about fathers. And apparently picking up picture books written by celebrities is something that I like to do. So this is what our artwork looks like. We have like this kind of cozy watercolors going on. So since I like to read picture books when I'm stressed, I thought I'd pick this up. The next picture book I have is Eyes That Kiss in the Corners, and this is by Joanna Ho. And yeah, I like picture books, so I saw this and decided to pick it up. And I haven't read any of these yet, but they look super cozy and adorable. So okay, the next picture book, which I did read, is Strange Planet, the Sneaking, Hiding, Vibrating Creature by Nathan W. Pyle. And he wrote a couple of graphic novels, I guess comic graphic novels, called Strange Planet, about these aliens, and they go about their lives, you know, describing things in a cute little alien way, and they're like my favorite things. So then when I saw this, I picked it up. Now I didn't know this was a picture book until it came in, but yeah, it's really cute. You know, so on this first page, you can already see, you know, arise from your rest lab. It's time to start the day. So cute. And then next I have this other comic graphic novel thing called I Will Judge You by Your Bookshelf by Grant Snyder. And I think he does like web comments and webtoons about, you know, book nerd stuff. And he also has some stuff in here about the ups and downs and the fun roller coaster ride of being a writer. Probably not going to be fun for you if you don't write, but since I have written and have written a lot, some of it was funny, some of it was just triggering, but anyway, I've already read this. I enjoyed it. And then I have this collector's edition. So I got the official Grimoire, A Magical History of Sunnydale by Willow Rosenberg. If you don't know anything about Buffy, Willow is the witch in the story, but the actual text is by A.M. Robinson. And so basically we have the book that Willow was working on throughout Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it's dated. And I'm really excited to give this a read. And I've been putting this off for a while because it's not cheap. But I finally decided to pick it up after I picked up the, this is the entire cover without this. But I finally decided to grab this after picking up the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Encyclopedia last quarter. And I was so happy I did because that book is gorgeous. And this is also gorgeous. And so, yeah. Aw, do you remember Willow and Oz? Okay, so the next category is classics. And so first up, I have these Jane Austen word cloud classics. And I'm not going to say what all of these are about because I don't know what they're all about, but I want to encourage myself to read all of her novels, so I thought I'd get them individually. I do have the Barnes & Noble Classic 7 novels bind up that includes the edition that I think somebody in her family finished. I'm not planning on reading that one, but I can if I want. And so first up, we have Persuasion. And I wanted to get these editions, one, because it was more cost effective to get this in the box set, and also because I really like the way they looked. So I don't know anything about Persuasion, but it looks like it's her shortest book. And then we have Sense and Sensibility. I have seen the movie and the BBC version. The BBC version is better. It's always better. And they all have like their own like fancy in paper. But I really like this story, and I've also read the manga classics. And so I'm really looking forward to reading the whole thing. And then we have Mansfield Park, and this looks like it's her longest book. I don't know anything about this one either. And then we have Pride and Prejudice, which is, of course, the most popular one. And I haven't seen the movie with Keira Knightley, but I have seen the BBC version with Colin Firth like so many times, and it is the best. And Colin Firth is the best Mr. Darcy. He's the only Mr. Darcy. But I love this story, but I haven't like read the book. I've only read the manga classic and watched the show, so I really want to read this. And then we have Northanger Abbey, which I think this is a gothic one, or her take on like the gothic genre. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what this looks like. And then we have Emma, and Emma's my favorite, and I still haven't read the novel. I haven't read any of her novels, but I have seen the Emma movie with Gwyneth Paltrow. It's okay. I want to see the new one with that one actress. I can't think of her name. And of course, I've seen the BBC version, which is fantastic. And of course, I've read the manga classic, which is fantastic. And if you don't know, Clueless is like a Emma retelling, Emma-inspired story, and Clueless is one of my favorite movies ever. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. So next I got all of these, and so I wanted a new copy of The Hobbit because my copy of The Hobbit is really gnarled and old, and so I got this box set with The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. So it's just really nice to have like a nice copy of The Hobbit. And I have it bind up with all 3 Lord of the Rings books. But like with the Jane Austen books, I thought it would encourage me to read this trilogy if I had them separately. So I finally picked up separate copies of the Lord of the Rings, which I've been meaning to do for years. And so these are the editions I got, and that's what they look like. So we had The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. The Two Towers, which is my favorite movie out of the bunch. I've only watched the movies. Okay. And The Return of the King. So hopefully I will get to those. And so while I was there getting those, I decided to pick up a copy of The Silmarillion because someone told me to read this years ago because they said it was really, really good. And so I finally picked this up. I don't know a lot about this, but it's something that I want to read after I finish reading the trilogy. I don't know if I'm going to reread The Hobbit. I tend to pick up The Hobbit after watching the movie to like reread certain chapters, but usually I'm just rereading the same chapter over and over again, and that's the one with, you know, Smeagol or Gollum in the cavern with Bilbo Baggins, you know, with the riddles. I just really like riddles in books. Anyway, so then I picked up the Lidroy Classics edition of Wuthering Heights because it's beautiful, and why not have more than one copy of Wuthering Heights for no reason. And so this is what the cover looks like. It looks very gloomy and atmospheric and moody. And then we have these shiny gold sprayed edges and ribbon bookmark, and there are a few illustrated pages throughout in the same art style as the cover. And so yeah, this book smells really good, by the way. And I think this is their Romantics edition, and they have one more coming out this fall. That's Jane Eyre, and then I already have the Pride and Prejudice one. So next, for no reason, I picked up this copy of Edgar Allan Poe's Complete Works. I have 3 other ones already, but I really wanted this cover, and it was only $8, and I'm so in love with this cover. It's just like my favorite one out of all the covers that I have. We have the ones that we read and flip through, and we have the ones that just sit there and look pretty. And then speaking of things that I didn't need, but I got anyway, I got this. And this is The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Other Macabre Tales by Washington Irving. I already have a collection of tales from Washington Irving, but I saw this at a little free library, and it was in such good shape, and I'm like, I don't need it, but I really want it. And I unhauled 21 books that day. And of course, in true me fashion, I immediately found 3 other books I went to unhaul. I didn't unhaul them all at little free libraries. I only stopped at the one on my way to Goodwill. But anyway, I have this really nice edition of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which I like this story. I don't love it, but the parts I do like, I really, really like. And the last classics I picked up are these kind of very scholarly, you know, beautiful editions of the Iliad and the Odyssey. I really have a craving to reread the Iliad for some reason. So I've been looking for matching copies of the Iliad and the Odyssey, and these are translated by Robert Fagles. And so I have this Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition with some deckled edges. And the reason why I like these is because I like that they stick with the format, because some people don't, and I don't like that. I'm just a little bit of a snob that way. So we have the Iliad and the Odyssey, and you either know what they're about or you don't. I'm not gonna say what they're about. So the next category is poetry. So these are my poetry books. So first up, I have Dandelion by Gabby Hanna. She is a YouTuber. I don't know what kind of YouTuber she is because I've literally watched 2 of her videos. But when I found out about her last poetry book, which is called Adultolescence, I picked it up because I like poetry. And while I felt like that collection was kind of all over the place, like some of the poetry was like really good and some of it was like really juvenile, overall I liked it. And so when I found out about this one, I picked it up. And I really like what she did here, like with the aesthetics. It's just really nice. So yeah, I appreciate, you know, a little bit of art going on with the poetry collections. Anyway, and then next I have Swimming Lessons by Lily Reinhardt, and the bio says that she's an actress and a mental health advocate. I don't know who she is, but apparently picking up poetry books by people who are famous for other things is something that I do. I was like, that looks really interesting, so I picked it up. And we have a little bit of like artwork scattered throughout, and I don't know what to expect. And we have like a lot of pages like this that are just like blank, this plain bright dark pink, and so it gives like the edges like this very kind of interesting look that is very aesthetically pleasing. If you want to know what the naked hardcover looks like, I try to show it just in case anybody's curious to what it looks like. So yeah, So then I picked up For a Rose That Blooms in Fire by Isabel Rossio. And I don't know anything about this. I saw this somewhere. Maybe Amazon recommended this to me again. I don't know. But I like roses. And so I picked it up. And then like in a lot of modern poetry books these days, they're like random sketches. And sometimes I don't like that, but I do like the ones in here. They're not all over the place. And the ones that are here are kind of nice and they're not getting in the way. And they kind of have a nice vibe. So we'll see if I like this. I don't know anything about it. And then I picked up Soft Thorns Volume 2 by Bridget DeVoe. And I picked this up because I found out about it and I have Volume 1 and I liked Volume 1. So we know Krystal loves roses and we like a good bleeding rose. So I'm looking forward to this. And she also has some artwork here and there. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to this because I really like the last one. And then I picked up this, and I've seen this a couple of times and haven't picked it up because it looks a little pretentious, but I couldn't help myself. I like a good classy cover. So this is Prince Neptune by Cody R. Simpson, and I guess this is him on the back. I don't know. It was looking at me when I was in Barnes & Noble one day, so I grabbed it, and there are no sketches or anything. It's just simple, beautiful poetry. I mean, I don't know if the poetry is beautiful, but it looks beautiful on the page. So then I picked up this book, and what's really funny is that I found this one when I was typing this book into the search box, and this one came up. Actually came up before this one. And I typed this title in exactly like this, and this one still showed up first. And again, I don't know, roses. So I picked it up. I don't know anything about it. I don't know who this person is. It's The Rose That Blooms in the Night by Ali Michelle. And it looks like we have some artwork in here interspersed with our poetry. Oh, that looks really nice. Pretty. So we'll see. Hopefully I like this, but I really like the font that they chose. It's nice. So the last poetry book I have is The Love Poems of Rumi. This is translated by Nader Khalili, and I don't know anything about this. Books A Million was highlighting this one day for some reason, and so I was like, I don't know. I like poetry. I like classic poetry. This book is so fancy. Like, everything is like super colorful and has just like this ridiculously fancy border around it. So I'm looking forward to reading this. I don't know anything about Rumi, but they have several. They have spiritual poems and friendship poems, whatever. So I got this one because it was super fancy, and I thought I'd give it a try. All right, so next we have graphic novels, and so yeah. So the first one I have is Poison Ivy Thorns by Cody Keplinger, and I don't know anything about this. I saw this and I was thinking that I definitely want more Poison Ivy graphic novels. It sounds like this is kind of like an origin story. I think she might be in high school because there's some art in here. Yeah, she's like in front of some lockers, like in a hallway. It looks like high school. But anyway, I thought I'd give it a try. So there we go. So the next I picked up Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, and this is by Jody Hauser. And if you don't know, Poison Ivy is my favorite DC villain. And I love reading Harley Quinn comics. And so when I saw Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy together, I was like, I have to get this. I don't know anything about it, but the artwork is beautiful. And I really like Harley Quinn, and I love Poison Ivy. So why not? And speaking of Harley Quinn, I decided to pick up Harley Quinn Black and White and Red, and this is a compilation of different Harley Quinn stories, so there are different authors and different artists at work here. But like the title implies, all the artwork throughout is black and white and red. So next, I got this Barnes & Noble edition of Dark One by Brandon Sanderson, and I don't know anything about this either. I didn't even read the blurb. I just saw Dark One and Brandon Sanderson, and I was like, what a great way to read some Brandon Sanderson work without having to read a 500,000 page novel. And so I picked it up. Oh, it comes with 2 posters. So we have a map and a cover. And then we have this beautiful artwork that's in here. And so I'm really looking forward to reading this. I don't know anything about it, but I'm looking forward to it. I mean, you can't really go wrong with a title like Dark One. So next I have some manga, and the first one I have is Black Butler, and this is by Yana Toboso. And all I know about Black Butler is that it's about this butler, but he's not just a butler. He also has like some kind of abilities. I think there's some supernatural stuff at play. I've been meaning to pick Black Butler up for a while, and it sounds really fun and fantastical. And so, you know, super fun. Okay, and then next I picked up 2 manga classics. I picked up Anna Green Gables. I've read Anna Green Gables, but when I saw this, I was like, this looks adorable. This is a manga adaptation of Anna Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. And this is what her art looks like. And I just think the manga format will be a really good fit for this story. So, there we go. And then speaking of manga classics, Othello came out. And I've been looking forward to this because 1, I've been wanting to reread Othello. And 2, I want to reread a lot of things. But 2, these manga classics for the Shakespeare editions, it has the entire text, but with manga artwork. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm really excited about this. I mean, Othello's not my favorite. A Midsummer's Night Dream is my favorite. And it's not even my favorite tragedy. Like, Macbeth is my favorite tragedy. And I also have Macbeth, but I really wanted Othello. So I'm really happy. And these next graphic novels are all by the same author, and they're all by Junji Ito. And after reading Tomi, I decided to just go ahead and get all the Junji Ito that I could find that I didn't already have. So I got this one, which I think is Geo. And so I'm just going to read you a little bit of this. It says, the floating smell of death hangs over the island. What is it? A strange-legged fish appears on the scene. So begins Tadashi and Kaori spiral into the horror and stench of the sea. I don't know what it's about, but Junji Ito has my trust. And then we have this beautiful art, and I have to check it because I feel like 9 times out of 10 I open it up to something horrifying. So I don't want to scare you. It's okay if I scare myself. But anyway. And then I picked up Smashed. This is upside down. I picked up Smashed. And this is a collection of stories. So, yeah. Looks like it's raining blood. But yeah, the artwork is going to look similar throughout. But I want to show it to you anyway because I'm always curious about what the art looks like in graphic novels and such. And so there are 13 chilling nightmares presented by the master of horror. And then I picked up Rimina, and I'm pretty sure this is sci-fi horror. This planet, it emerges from a wormhole, and it starts decimating every single planet in its path, and eventually it is on a collision course with Earth, and it sounds like something out of a literal nightmare that I've had. Oh, that's horrifying. So hopefully this won't scare me too bad, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to scaring myself, apparently. So next we have Love Sickness, and this came out not that long ago, and I'm really excited about this. And so this is about like this town. There's a guy returns to this town where like a bunch of people are like lovesick over this beautiful man, and so he's trying to figure out what's going on. And so here's the artwork, and this one, like I said, very similar because Junji Ito is also our artist, but the tagline says, an intoxicating beauty turns a small town into a bloody hell. This cover is just so creepy. And they also have Frankenstein. I was really excited about this. So I'm excited to see Junji Ito's take on Frankenstein. So this is some of the art we have going on in this. And then we have Fragment of Horror, and this is another story collection. It says ranging from the terrifying to the comedic, from the erotic to the loathsome. Oh, an eyeball. Gross. But yeah, here's some artwork that doesn't have blood on it or anything. And we have this very disturbing cover. And this very disturbing naked hardcover. That's going to be real fun for me. And I also picked up No Longer Human. And I don't know what this is about. But I picked it up. And then we have this horrifying mess going on under the dust jacket. This inside flap says, "Mine has been a life of much shame. I can't even guess myself what it must be to live the life of a human being." It says, Osamu Dase's immortal and supposedly autobiographical work of Japanese literature is perfectly adapted here into manga by Junji Ito. Boy, that is something. So this is some more of his fantastic art. And then the last one I picked up is Open Classroom. This cover by itself is horrifying. So there you go. Nice, disgusting horror. And I think this is about a teacher who teaches middle school, and something's happening in his classroom, something disturbing. So then we have creepy little girl right off the bat. Always a good sign when you're reading horror. So now on to YA. Most of this is in the same genre because, let's face it, I'm a one-trick pony over here. And so I'm going to start with the most recent one, which is Steeped in Gold by Seeing Not Smart. And this was the Fairy Loot May book. So this is a Jamaican-inspired witch fantasy, and it sounds interesting. It's about these two witches that are kind of like enemies, but they have to work together to take down a common threat. And so we're just going to take a quick look at how gorgeous this book is, even though I just had an unboxing for it. But yeah. So yeah, this is what's going on. Yeah. Also, there's a ribbon bookmark, so that's the thing that's going on with this book. So next I have a few books that I got in the clearance aisle at Books A Million. So the first one I have is Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver, and this I think is a YA suspense, and this is about this popular girl, and she dies, and so she has to relive her death every single day for a week until she figures out what happened. And yeah, since this has been on my TBR for a while, I decided to pick it up since it was on sale. And so I also picked up Not Even Bones by Rebecca Schiffer, and it says betrayal is a bloody business. I don't know anything about this book, but I remember hearing somebody one time talk about how good it was. So she says this is really good for people who are like, I just can't with fantasy, but I don't remember what it's about. And we all know I don't like to read blurbs over here, so there's this. And then this next one is a book that's been on my TBR for a while. This is a YA paranormal book. There are soul eaters in this book, and if you don't know, I have a lot of story ideas. Not that I'm writing, but back when I used to write a lot, I had a lot of story ideas about soul eaters. And so when I saw this, I'm like, this sounds right up my alley. It's super terrifying, and I don't know why I'm obsessed with it, but I am. And so this is The Beast is an Animal by Peter Nell Van Arsdale. And yeah, this has been on my radar for a while. We have like creepy little nursery rhyme right here in the front. So I was really excited to see this with the discounted books. And then I wasn't going to get this book. I was going to try to get it from the library, but since it was like, I don't know, I think it was like $3.97 or something. I was like, why not? Why not give it a try? It's Wonder Woman the Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo. I'm not sure how I feel about a YA version of Diana Prince, but yeah, I don't know. I decided to pick it up, And yeah, we have this going on, and it's kind of like literally on the edge of every single page. Not sure I like that, but anyway, hopefully we'll like this. I don't know what this is about. I just know there's a teenage version of Wonder Woman who's running around fighting stuff, and they said it was action-packed, which we don't like that over here, but it's Lee Bardugo, and it was $4 minus discount, so why not? So I have the Little Mermaid version of these Twisted Tales that are put out by Disney Hyperion, and I started to read that, and I was like, I don't know about this, but now they know not to take it too seriously. I decided to pick up the other ones that I'm interested in, and so those are Once Upon a Dream by Liz Braswell, and this is What If the Sleeping Beauty never woke up, and I think she's like trapped in like a dream world or a nightmare world, and she has to like find her way out. It sounds interesting. I'm not gonna take it too seriously though. So yeah. And then I also picked up Unbirthday, and this is also by Liz Braswell, and this is What If Wonderland Was in Peril and Alice Was Very, Very Late. And yeah, this is what we have going on under the cover, and it sounds interesting. And then I actually bought this one before I bought the other two. I just couldn't help myself. I couldn't help myself. I was at Books A Million, and I picked it up to like skim over the blurb, and I was like, I really want this book. I just couldn't leave without it. So this is Go the Distance by Jen Calonita, and this is What If Meg Had to Become a Greek God. So I think she has to travel into the underworld, and like she has like a task or something so you can join Hercules on Olympus. Sounds ridiculous, but I want to read it. And then another book that I got on discount was The Breathless by Tara Gosian, and I've had this book on my TBR for a while. I have been really wanting this book, and so when I saw it, I was like, hello. So this is a YA paranormal book. If I'm remembering what I read about the blurb correctly, it's about this girl and her boyfriend goes missing, and they're like missing for a while, and the boyfriend comes back and he goes to their house and he's like looking for his girlfriend, and his sister is like, oh my gosh, where have you guys been? He's like, what are you talking about? It's only been like a day. And she's like, no, you've been gone for like a while. So we don't know what's going on, but it sounds really intriguing, and it's set in the South. So it's gothic and horror and supernatural, and it sounds like it's right up my alley. So I was very, very excited to see this with the discounted books. And then I don't know why I bought this. I just really like the cover. And so I picked up A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. And I heard that I don't have to read any of the other books to understand what's going on. So I do have A Court of Thorns and Roses, and so I'm going to try to read that before I read this. So at least I will know who some of these people are, but I don't know anything about this. I think they're having a party. Also remember that I'm forgetting to show you what these books look like. But most of them look like this. They're just like this. So the first time I saw this with the discounted books, I didn't get it. And then I kind of regretted it. And I was like, what if I go back and they don't have it? So I went back and they had a couple copies left. So I picked it up. I don't know. I just really like this cover. Maybe it'll be entertaining. Yeah. Also, in the discounted section was The Night Country by Melissa Albert, and this is a sequel to The Hazelwood, so I don't know what this book is about, but I'm pretty sure it's a YA portal fantasy. And I haven't read The Hazelwood yet. I've only read like a little bit of the first chapter to see if it was a book that I wanted to read. And so I was going to wait until I read that book and then get the paperback so that they would match. But then I saw this and I was like, this is way cheaper than the paperback is going to be. So I just picked this one up. And it has like a little stamp on the front. But yeah. So next I picked up All the Tides of Faith by Adeline Grace. And this is the sequel to All the Stars and Teeth, which I think is a fantasy book about I want to say there's like mermaids in it, but I know for a fact it's like pirates and boats and sea creatures. That's all I really know about it, but since I'm really interested in the first book, there's a reason why I bought it. Basically, I'm on a hard YA book buying ban because I'm having a space issue. I don't want my YA books to spill into another section. And so while I still have plenty of space on my bookshelf for YA books, I don't have plenty of space in the YA section. And so I'm like, before I don't buy any more YA books, are there any YA books that I want to get? And this was one of them, because I'm like, what if I read book one? Because I think book one ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and that always makes me kind of mad. But I'm like, if I had book two, maybe I won't be as mad and I can just go ahead and read it, maybe. I don't know. But book one sounds interesting. So we have a girl who's a princess and she's on a boat and some stuff happens. And this is the sequel. And then I picked up The Mirror Broken Wish by Julie C. Dow. And I think this is a Snow White retelling. I know it's a fairy tale thing. The tagline says family curses always start somewhere, which just sounds so up my alley. And we have this beautiful like shiny purple on the spine, and I don't know, this book has been on my TBR for a while, and I saw it in person and I'm like, you're coming home with me. But that's all I know. Fairy tales, magic. Sounds like my kind of book anyway. I have this gorgeous spine. Just love this. So also on discount was this book, Midnight Jewel by Raquel Mead. And this is a glittering court novel. But when I looked it up, they said it wasn't part of the main series. And so I shouldn't have to read the main series to read this book. I don't know why I picked this up, but it sounded interesting. And I don't know. So I picked it up. But do let me know if I've read something wrong online and I do need to read The Glittering Court to read this book. The next book I have is Realmbreaker by Victoria Aveyard. And what is this book about? We have this beautiful map, for one, on the end paper. And I think this is like, what if like the A team fails and you have to send in, not even the B team, you have to send in like the scrubs to like save the kingdom. I think that's what this book is about. I've been wanting to read a Victoria Aveyard book, and so this one sounded interesting, so I picked this one up. I'm not going to tell you what this next book is about at all. I picked up Lore by Alexandra Bracken after I told myself I wasn't going to get it because everybody was picking up this book, and I don't know, the reviews are everywhere, but the people who have similar tastes to me that I know of, they seem to like this book. And I thought it sounded interesting when it came out, and I like mythology, and I think this is like urban fantasy, and it's set in like modern day New York City. But yeah, I don't know. This is one of those books that I was like, if I don't buy another YA book for a year, are you going to be mad that you didn't get this book? And so I picked this book up. We're going to give it a try. So then I got this trilogy, and this was a case of me being in Books A Million too long, and I walked past this book. First of all, this book is thick. Second of all, oh my gosh, it's so pretty. And third of all, do you see this at the bottom? It says book 3. Okay, book 3 of the New York Times bestselling Last Magician series. So when I saw these little words, I just assumed it said from New York Times bestselling author Lisa Maxwell. And so I picked this book up, and then I got it home and I looked it up, and I was like, oh no, this is book 3. Luckily, it was book 3 to The Last Magician, which is a book that has been on my TBR for a while, and a book that I really want to read anyway. And so I was like, well, let's just get books 1 and 2. So I picked up The Last Magician, The Devil's Thief, and The Serpent's Curse, all by Lisa Maxwell. I'm not 100% sure what this series is about. I know there's a girl who has magic, but the tagline on the inside says, "Stop the magician, steal the book, save the future." And when I was reading a little bit of the first chapter, it was really interesting. So I'm like, sure, why not? And there's not a lot going on with the naked hardcover, but oh my gosh, this red. It's so gorgeous. I love this for myself. And this one just says beautiful green. So if you don't know, I take the covers off the books when I read them. So it's nice to know we have something pretty to look at while I read the book. So this next book is April's Illumicrate book, and that is In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Storklin. And all I remember about this book is that it's about a blood mage, and everybody with powers, I think all the mages, they have to be like tied to some kind of spirit. So she's in a polyamorous relationship with her spirit warrior and some princess. And that's all I know about this. And then we have this going on with the end paper. And this is what our spine looks like. But it sounds interesting. And then we have one stenciled edge. And then the April Fairy Loot book was The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. And we have this beautiful purple edition. Basically what this book is about a prison healer, and the rebel queen gets brought in, and so she's healing the rebel queen, but as part of her punishment, the rebel queen has to go through these trials, but like nobody ever survives the trials. And so this girl gets a note that says, don't let her die, we're coming for her. And so she agrees to go into the trials in the rebel queen's place. And so we'll see what happens to her, but I really like stuff like that. Just been some nonsense on the back of the book. Anyway, and then we have this beautiful purple on the top and bottom, and this beautiful lock. And yeah, so we're excited about this book. And yeah, they did a lot of shiny etchings and stuff on this book. And then we have this reverse dust jacket. Okay, so the last books that I have, I don't know anything about them, but they are literally the most beautiful books I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, you know what? We're just going to get them and hope for the best. So I got the Fairy Loot editions of the Ember and the Ashes quartet, and all I know about these books is that they're fantasy, and it's about this girl who's like a servant or something, and her brother is like a rebel, and I think something happens to him, and anyway, it sounds like they go on an adventure. I really don't know what these books are about. But anyway, we have book 1, An Ember and the Ashes by Saba Tahir, and this is what the book looks like. And yeah, they're all signed. And then look at this. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it, okay? I'm like, I don't want to regret not getting them, and then I can't get them, right? And then book 2 is A Torch Against the Night. And yeah. Now, FYI, I did read a little bit of the first chapter before I bought the books. But yeah. I don't know why this is so exciting, but it is. So I'm really looking forward to these. Hopefully I like them, but I'm like, even if I don't, it's like artwork, you know? And then we have A Reaper at the Gates. And this is actually my favorite sprayed edge color. It's just so beautiful. Why is it so beautiful? And then we have green. And then we have A Sky Beyond the Storm. And I've heard a lot of really good things about this series. But yeah, I mean, it's fantasy, so I wasn't really paying that much attention to it until I saw these. And I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm going to have to pick these books up. And then yes, we have purple sprayed edges on this book, whatever kind of fancy nonsense that is. But yeah, I just love how beautiful these spines are. I can appreciate a beautiful book, you know? So now we're at the last section, which are all of the adult books that I bought this last quarter. Largely in one genre, but there's a little bit of variation. So I'm going to start with the Once and Future Witches. This is the Illumicrate edition. This was November's box last year, and this is when they were selling off like extra boxes that they have that they order extra in case something goes wrong. And so I got my hands on this, which is pretty much like the regular book. We just have red sprayed edges and it's signed by Alex D. Harrow. And since this was a book I wanted anyway, I decided to pick up this one. I don't remember what this book was about, but the tagline says, "There's no such things as witches, but there will be." But I think this has a historical setting, so paranormal, fantasy, witches, up my alley. And then speaking of Illumicrate, we have May's book, which was The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. So this is about two women, and one of them is a princess, and I think she is at a temple because her brother is sitting on the throne that should be hers. And then the other character is a priestess who might be a monster, and she hears the ruins whispering to her, and it sounds really interesting. And so we have these stenciled edges with some foliage, and we know how much I love foliage over here. And we have this gorgeous spine, and I realized I did not show the spine in the unboxing video, but I love this so much. And this is what the rest of the book looks like. We have this beautiful nonsense on the front. Together they will change the fate of an empire. And then the spine says, "A vengeful princess and a hidden priestess." So next I have this historical book. It's based on a true story. It says, "A novel of the Black Widow of Laporte." And it says, "Man shall inherit the earth unless she kills him first." So I think it's about this woman who murders men. And apparently that's a good way to get Crystal to buy a book. And I don't know, it sounds really interesting and up my alley. So we have In the Garden of Spite by Camilla Bruce. And then we have some thrillers or some suspense books. So I picked up Pretty Little Wife by Darby Kane. The tagline says there's more than one way to end a marriage. So I think this book is about the last time this woman saw her husband, he was dead, and now his body is missing. And so I'm like, what's going on? Did she kill her husband and somebody knows and they took his body and now they're going to blackmail her? Like, is he not really dead? Is he like plotting revenge because somebody tried to kill him? I don't know, but it sounds really interesting. And then this other one I picked up on the discount table at Books A Million is A Stranger in the House by Shari Lapina. And I think if I'm remembering this blurb correctly, it's about this woman who the last thing she remembers is leaving the house to go to this warehouse, and something happened to her and she woke up in the hospital and she has some memory loss, and they're like, you know, "We think your wife was up to something sketchy." And he's like, "No, you don't know my wife. She's like an upstanding citizen. She would never do that." And so obviously his wife is on some sketchy stuff, and he doesn't know who he's married to. I don't know, it sounds really interesting. So I picked it up, low risk, on sale. And then the other book I picked up at that same time on the discount table was The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. And I think, if I'm remembering this right, this is about this woman and her ex-husband and her ex-husband's new wife. I hardly ever like to read blurbs because I just think it's boring, but this is really interesting. So I'm just going to read you this because it's really interesting. So it says, "When you read this book, you will make many assumptions. You will assume you are reading about a jealous ex-wife. You will assume she is obsessed with her replacement, a beautiful younger woman who is about to marry the man they both love. You will assume you know the anatomy of this tangled love triangle. Assume nothing. This explores the hidden complexities of marriage and the dangerous truths we ignore in the name of love. Read between the lies." Sounds interesting. So since I've gotten into suspense books, I decided to add this to that TBR. Okay, this next book I'm unnaturally excited about, but this is Rabbits by Terry Miles, and this is described as a supernatural techno thriller. So it just has Matrix vibes all over it. I love The Matrix. We love the first movie. And that's all I know about this book. That and the blurb was like written in second person. And I'm like, this is so trippy, I can't even stand it. Because it starts off saying, it's an average workday. You've been wrapped up in a task and you check the clock when you come up for air, 4:44 p.m. You check your email and 44 unread messages have built up. What a shock. You realize the date is April 4th, 4/4. And when you get in your car to drive home, your odometer reads 44,444. Coincidence, or have you just seen the edge of a rabbit hole? I don't know what's going on, but I am so here for a trippy, crazy sci-fi ride. And yeah, I saw this and I had to have this. I had to. Look at it. Okay, the next book I have is The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Anahi Vo. I think that's how you say her name. And this is a fantasy novella. I heard good things about it. I don't really know what it's about. It looks crazy. Yeah, I think it's about some royals in China. And it's blurred by Shauna McGuire. And she says it's gorgeous, cool, and perfect. So we're here for this. And then I can't help myself. I picked up Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Satanto. And this is getting a Netflix adaptation, which is how I heard about this book. But it is being pitched as a rom-com murder mystery. And so the concept is that this girl accidentally kills her blind date. And so she calls up her mom and her aunties for help dealing with the body. And the body accidentally gets shipped to this wedding that they're throwing in California because I think they have some kind of wedding planning business. So then they have to go and like cover it up. And it sounds really fun. And so sometimes I do like to branch out from my paranormal fantasy books and read some contemporary. This sounds super fun. And then next I picked up The Book Charmer by Karen Hawkins. I don't know a lot about this, but I saw the cover and I'm like, that looks like something I would like. Logic. It says for fans of practical magic. I like practical magic. So it's about this woman who can like talk to books, or she hears books speaking to her. So that's all I know. I don't know. I don't know if this is magical realism. I don't know if this is paranormal. I don't know if this is light fantasy. I don't know if this is romance. I know it's a contemporary setting. So we'll see what happens when I read it. And then next I picked up The Taker by Alma Katsu. And this is another book that I saw the cover and Alma Katsu's name. And I'm like, why not? But Stephen King says it's deeply disturbing and hard to put down. So I think it's about this woman and she's like immortal. And then one day she shows up at this hospital and this guy working at the hospital, I think he's a doctor. She like tells him her story and I think it's like really screwed up. And then I have For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. I really want to read this book. This is like Little Red Riding Hood meets Beauty and the Beast. So that's all I know about this book. I don't know anything else. And yes, we have Deckled Edges, which I love over here. And yeah, this is just, I can't wait. But I really like this blurb on the back. It says, the first daughter is for the throne. The second daughter is for the wolf. And then the blurb up here says it's dark fantasy. So, cannot wait. I saw this at Barnes & Noble. And it was on the same table as that book everybody is reading. What is that book? Anyway, I saw this, A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. I think this is a Hades and Persephone romance. I don't know what I'm getting into, but I saw the cover and I added to my TBR and then I saw it and I was like, don't get this book, Krystal. Obviously, I got the book. But anyway, we have this. It's very plain, but it feels real nice. So, I don't know. It's not that long. And I don't know anything about this author. But I'm assuming this is like dark fantasy romance. So I ended up getting 2 books from the Little Free Library. The first one was The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And the other one was this one, Adultery by Paulo Coelho. This book is about some woman who is like bored and she's having like a midlife crisis or something. And she cheats on her husband and her life falls apart. And apparently I like cheating stories. So there you go. So I'm thinking this is some kind of contemporary book. I don't know if it's Suspense. This book still has a super perfumey smell, but that's okay. Okay, so the next book I have in this haul is Near the Bone by Christina Henry. This will be in my June wrap up. I read this just a couple of weeks ago and I love this so much. It is very dark and disturbing. And it's about this woman who's living in this cabin in the woods with her abusive husband. And there's also a creature in the woods. And there's also some people in the woods hunting this creature. Some cryptozoologists. Oh my gosh, a lot happens. There's so much. It's so good. I loved it. Anyway. So yeah, this is supernatural horror, which is right up my alley if you didn't know. Next, I have All the Murmuring Bones by A.G. Slater, and this is about this family who struck a deal with the mer creatures that in exchange for safe passage for their ships, which would help them prosper and be super wealthy and safe and everything, they would sacrifice a child to these bloodthirsty mermaids. But the sacrifices dried up, and the family has fallen into ruin, and so the grandmother is determined to restore the family's good name at all costs. In this case, it would be at the cost of her granddaughter. So this sounds really interesting and dark, and I love the thought of a good bloodthirsty mermaid book. So I'm looking forward to this. And also, this cover is so pretty. So pretty. So next I have Vida Nostra, and this is by Marina and Sergei Dyachenko, and this is translated from Russian, and I found this in the horror section when I was picking up something else, and it sounds like it's about this family, and they go on vacation, and the daughter gets like caught up into some crazy stuff. It sounds like something supernatural is going on, because this is described as a dark fantasy combining psychological suspense, enchantment, and terror. Sounds great. So yeah, I decided to give it a try because I thought the cover was stunning and I thought it sounded really interesting. And yeah. And then next I picked up Opium and Absent by Lydia Kang. And I don't remember what this book was about, but it was on my TBR. And I picked this up a couple months ago, but it was something that I wanted to read. All I remember now is that it has witches in it. So witches, paranormal, it's up my alley, and I love the title and I love the cover. So, and then next I have Parasite by Darcy Coates, and I think this is a sci-fi horror. I wasn't going to get this yet, but I kept looking at it. All I know about this book is that it's about this woman who discovers an unusual life form, and by the time they do anything about it, it's too late. And then, speaking of the horror section, I picked up A House at the Bottom of a Lake by Josh Malerman. And this is a guy who wrote Bird Box. This is a very short book. I've heard some weird things about it. It's about this couple who finds this house at the bottom of a lake, and they become kind of obsessed with it and exploring it. And I think it has some creepy vibes. I don't know if it's like horror or what's going on, but I decided to go ahead and give it a chance since it's really short and it sounded really interesting. And then more horror, I have Misery by Stephen King, and I've been wanting to pick this up for a while. This about this writer, and he has a car accident and he wakes up in this cabin with this woman nursing him back to health, and she turns out to be a crazy fan, and she wants him to bring one of the characters that he's killed off in one of his book series back to life. So there is a movie for this. I'm pretty sure it's starring Kathy Bates. I have not seen this movie. I don't know how old the movie is, but I thought I'd pick up the book. It's not that long, and then maybe we'll track down the movie and watch it. And then one last horror book. I wasn't going to pick this up yet because the content of this book really scares me, but I picked up The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones, and this is about like this group of adults, and when they were younger, in their youth, in their teenage years, they did something, and now something is coming for them. Oh my gosh, just the thought of this is really creeping me out. So hopefully it won't scare me too bad, but I'm like, be brave, Krystal. I really want to read this book, so yeah. And so next I have The Betrayals by Bridget Collins. And the only thing I know about this book is that it is, I think it's like dark academia. So it's about this elite academy and something sketchy is going on. So I think it has supernatural elements. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure this is classified as a fantasy book. So, I don't know. The cover is gorgeous. I like dark academia, so let's give it a try, right? So the last book I have in this book haul, last but not least, we have The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, and this is a fantasy book. I've been meaning to pick this up for a while, and all I know about this book is that it's about this woman, and she's a clairvoyant, and that is an ability that is banned, but she practices it anyway, and yeah, that's all I know. But I've heard a lot of really good things about it, and it sounds really interesting, and this cover is so gorgeous to me, so yeah. All right, so that's all for this book haul. Hopefully, it's not too long, but you can let me know if you would rather, if this ever happens again, me split it up into smaller videos, or if you like the longer videos with the timestamp, whatever. Although my next two book hauls, will not be this large. So that's all for this video. Let me know if you found some books that you've never heard of before. Let me know if you've read any of these books. Am I in for a good time? And I will see you guys next week. I will see you guys then. And yeah, I hope you have a great week. And I will see you guys later. Bye.